Mackie.
On WZZR. There you go.
Yeah, that'll have to do. Revolution Radio for broadcasting from Australia. Jump into the chat room and chat to us while we're on air and discuss the topics we bring and see the links we share during the show. That's an advantage to you. This is show number 446. Seven.
Yes, 740 and 400. That's right.
That's what I said, and don't jerk me around. It's on air, online, and on your smart device, so grab an app to listen from anywhere or listen at home on a Grace tabletop digital radio. If you missed Solaris' show tonight, which I did, but I did catch, I caught it right before her show started 2 hours ago. She had Russ Tanner on, and they were talking about geoengineering. And, you know, I saw, Mackie, I saw, just on that, I saw my first, you know, I don't want to call it really a chemtrail. I think it has to be maybe something like maybe a cloud trail. It has to be a new definition, because chemtrail has the audacity to suggest that there's barium and aluminium oxides and these things that are being sprayed to kill us intentionally. But I believe, from the NASA's 10 years, expedition into fuel research, have found a fuel that it's more efficient, but it has a side effect of being able to create clouds on its own. And from a bioengineering perspective, I believe that is what their intention is. There's no longer a button in the console. There's no spraying. There's no jets. There's no onboarding of the liquids or anything. It just happens to be in the natural use of the engines through a refined fuel that we specifically engineered to do the task. And so anyway, I'll move on. The sore point, let's put it that way. The archives are currently available via a Patreon access, and I suggest that you do that as I do too. Very important to support the station and keep it rolling. It's not free to run all this stuff, and they don't advertise, and as such it is listener supported, so you do need to make a contribution. So whether you buy something from their store or you subscribe to the archives, that is sufficient enough for if every listener did that, Mickey, we wouldn't even have to advertise it anymore. Just do that. Just do it. Yeah, that's almost, was that just do it was a Nike slogan?
Sure.
Yeah. Anyway, look, Mackie and I acknowledge, on a somber note, we acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land, and for me it's the Dark Angel. And Mackie, it is the...
It's the Dark people, my friend. The Dark people.
There you go. And we pay our respects to elders past, present, and future. And everything we've built in our civilization is basically raping and pillaging a planet where they kept it as in balance. Let's put it. They may have generated the balance, but I think our balance is less balanced than their balance was. And if we were to leave the planet, whoever didn't come with us would have some technology amnesia pretty quickly, and end up doing what they had to do anyway for quite some time. And I was talking about this with one of my friends, Maggie, today, who's a regular listener. So hey to you out there, you know who you are, and about the amnesia that's occurred in the past, and specifically around the Dark Ages, and we forgot how to make concrete and a whole bunch of things. And it doesn't take very much for amnesia to kick in. The slightest of changes to our civilization. For instance, if Mackie, and this was one of the ones I postulated earlier this afternoon, was with Elon Musk and everyone, we've sent some people to Mars, and then suddenly out of the 120 missions, of sending them resources, they get 30 in and the rockets stop. Maybe the Earth had an EMP and there's no electricity. We're going to get tech amnesia real quick. Like, that's going to be something that it gallops up on us, and we'll have gone into a new Dark Ages. But being able to maintain going to work and doing, chip manufacture or LCD panel manufacture is going to be offline. There won't be electricity. You won't be able to just boot the system up and start making electricity all over again. It requires electricity to begin. So we'd be offline for probably ever until we sort of remade electricity, until all those decaying plants, electrical generation plants, until we decided to make them again, right? We would go so quick into that tech amnesia that we would end up rebooting ourselves, just like we've been providing you with examples in this show arc about how we believe that this has occurred in the past. And now over to you, Meki. How was your week?
Yeah, no, it was good, my friend. It's been a crazy week, and it certainly it's interesting to see things develop the way they do, right? And just quickly how things can go sideways. Right now, there are two parts of Central Asia, I guess, at war that I've never heard of in my life, right? And it's but it's a hot conflict. It's actually in it's Armenia and I think it is Azerbaijan. I think that's right. So those two.
Tajikistan.
No, it's not Tajikistan. It's yeah, but the area, the region, I'd never heard of. The countries, of course, but I think, and the funny thing is, Armenia's got like the population of Sydney, right? So it's one of those things that just pops up. But these kinds of times we're in, they encourage, they engender this kind of conflict. We will see more and more of these conflicts popping up. It's inevitable. It's going to happen. I'm listening to a whole bunch of different things, different radio stations, different news outlets, different analysts and commentators. People are talking about climate wars now.
Mm-hmm.
The war in Darfur is one of the first climate wars that has been identified. We're going to have climate refugees, and if we think that we've got a refugee crisis now, ain't nothing yet.
I told you. We haven't. We've been talking about harping each other for a while, right? As climate.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And the next big war is going to be around the water wars, right? I mean, forget oil, forget gas, forget anything else, aluminium, whatever. No, aluminium, where do they go from? No, but it's going to be wars for water, oxide, that's it. Because water ultimately is the only resource that we need to live. It'll become a necessities war, right? The things you need to live. Yeah, absolutely. Completely. And you see that the Saudis.
You think food's a necessity? Mm-mm.
Well, food without water, not possible either, right?
That's right.
So water is the penultimate. I mean, air. I mean, once air is gone, we're all gone. Which so I'm not mentioning it here. So if you can't breathe, we're all going the way of the dodo. No, but the Saudis and other power brokers in the world, people that have money, they are investing in water. They're buying up water rights. You can see it in Australia as well. People are buying Australian water rights. The Chinese are doing it, others as well.
Yeah.
It's the only thing that matters. Ultimately,
the Saudis can produce theirs because they have a lot of money.
Yeah.
And they do, using reverse osmosis.
Yeah, they've got massive desalination plants. Something that we should have done in Sydney and Australia a long time ago. But there are other ways to do it.
Which we never used and went to the wayside.
It's just terrible. And there's the massive artesian underground reserves as well. But we are actually now well on the way to polluting them via fracking and other wonderful activities. But it is certainly very interesting to see how things are developing. And a piece of news that I found odd, Dave, is this. So President Trump was sick with the coronavirus. That was last week, or a few days ago, really, right?
That's right.
And now there are reports coming out of the White House that
he's fine.
Sean Conley, his doctor, or the White House doctor, gives him the hands up. He's no longer contagious, or he's no longer a COVID transmission risk.
That's right. That's one of my stories today, man. Well done.
And yeah, but I mean, what? So okay, here we are. Not if I were conspiratorially minded. Which I am.
No,
I would say that Donald Trump may not have had coronavirus. He may not have had it. He may have.
Oh,
he may have.
Mickey, hey.
Hey, what?
Right?
Hey,
so just think about the point, right? So, he was treated, as he says, by the best doctors with the best medicine in the best way that he wants now all the American people to be able to have access to this. Now,
so let's be clear: 200,000 Americans have died.
Yeah, we're not laughing. We're not laughing at the deaths because the deaths are real. People are dying. Yep.
If only now he thinks they should get it after he got it, I'm sorry, that makes him one of the worst human beings I've ever come across in my life.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, I know what you mean.
I will say here that if this treatment is available, and it was as miraculous for Donald Trump as it seems to be, it is a crime against humanity not to have used it previous to this. It is a crime against the American people. It's a crime against the people of the world, because people are dying, and yes, he's the president of the United States. I get that, but if this treatment is available, then
why wasn't it being given to people?
Right?
Yeah.
Just to be very clear, this is a very serious. So either the treatment was there and it wasn't given to the people, or Donald Trump wasn't. Well, it's still not approved.
It became approved
because he needed it. Or he didn't, or he wasn't sick, right? Either or, and to in fact, you think about it from a pure election point of view. If you say you're sick, oh shoot, he's sick. Oh, nobody else seems to be sick there. Okay, he didn't infect anyone. That's good. And then within a few days, make no mistake, within a few days, I'm all better. Right? How much of a boost would that give his followers, and how much of a boost would it give maybe others that think, oh, he's a very resilient president. Look at him, he's really robust. Look, he came back. Now let's be clear here. He is in his 70s. He's clinically or technically obese. Okay,
and he's right in the zone in so many vectors to be a fatality. Yeah.
Or at least be very sick.
Oh yeah.
Boris Johnson was in hospital longer.
That's right.
Johnson is younger.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So to be clear, I'm not saying either way, but I'm dubious. I'm highly dubious, my friend.
Well, look, it did give him. I'll say this on the side of your argument right now, right? In the dubious area, the realm. I've opened the door. I'm standing next to you in this space, and I say, well, to support it, I'd have to say that yeah, you're right. The miraculous recovery, right? And the election's coming up, and he had to save himself, but he had to have a renewed anger on China, which you see that press conference where he was talking just to camera on his own, and he was basically boosting the help that he had, and renewing that hatred for China once again, naming it the Wuhan virus or the China virus, and look, I thought that was working really well in his favor. However, now for his doctor, but I got a bit on the doctor, but the doctor himself saying that he's no longer contagious. That's very interesting, because people were found to be contagious 4 days before presenting with any symptoms, even though if you were to go critical, and then also after you've completely been cleared of the virus being alive, you're still contagious days later. So he must be, he's a god, right?
Something doesn't add up, though.
It doesn't.
Maybe he's the second coming. Whoa, I'm gonna get hit for that.
Oh boy. Just then I answered that like Bill Maxwell from The Greatest American Superhero, which I've been watching all over again, by the way. But I used my VPN. So listen, Meki, the thing that I thought was the most extraordinary about it, we're talking about the Trumps, because I haven't heard anything from his wife. There's no media on how she's going. All the other people in the White House, they were all infected as well. But a cocktail, I'm going to read what I wrote, right? So a cocktail of drugs does exist, enabling the human body to fight the SARS-CoV-2 virus. And it's only to help it fight it. And as we know, Azythromycin, Hydroxychloroquine, and Zinc combined have played a big role in the recovery of those people who are, and Remdesivir, and there's a whole bunch, right? There's a whole bunch of them. I'm just naming those three because they were called out. Plus, Regeneron's cocktail. Now, Regeneron's cocktail wasn't approved, and it was rushed through for emergency approval to be able to treat the president, the POTUS, and it was approved by the Food and Drug Administration, so that it could be used on him. It also had a steroid, which now Pelosi has jumped on, and they've had people not examine Trump, but speak out against the use of the steroid, in that you can become... Oh, now I'm not a clinical physician, nor am I someone able to make a determination on someone's crazy. But I have to say that these people who also weren't treating him weren't able to make that determination. But they said, while despite that, they were stating that he had clearly gone mad, and that he was suffering from every one of the symptoms where heavy steroidal use is apparent, and that he should be plucked from office. Was it Article 25, I think, Maggie, or something like that?
I can't remember but yes, there's an article that will remove the president due to mental health reasons.
Absolutely, but they were claiming because of the statements he was making. But clearly, they had ignored all of the other statements that he'd made during his presidency, and wanted to only isolate these. Now, in a court of law, you would fail because they'd just be able to bring up all the others. I'm not saying he's a perfect man. I really don't care. I don't vote in the country, and he doesn't govern me. But when our Prime Minister, when Scotty from marketing says that he's the best thing, and we need him and we can't have him lose, because Joe Biden would leave Australia's current position isolated in the global community, and we'd have a real hard time defending ourselves should that be the case, right? So currently Trump supports our PM's governance model, and they sort of share the same direction. They go in the same direction, and I have to say, not that I vote, and I'm not left nor right according to all of these new positions that the left and right have taken. I look at the left and go, you're all complete nuts. And I look at the right, where I used to say, wow, you only want to get rogered by big business and don't care about little people. And now the right are agreeing with me about the hydroxychloroquine, Mickey. About, this is the right media. The right media is now agreeing with me about UFOs. What the hell? I mean, what happened? Did I go to sleep and suddenly this is an alternate universe? When? You saw my post, Mackie, in Facebook. But when did this happen? How did I start agreeing with the right media? What?
All I can say is 2020.
Yeah, I know, right?
So 2020 is so 2020 is like, being at a zebra crossing, looking left and right, and then being hit by a train. Sorry, a plane in the sky. Whoosh! That's 2020. No, it is.
Yeah.
We're living through very uncertain times, and in uncertain times, you back in the late 19th century, something that became apparent was that there was a lot of interest in the occult. Right, so Madame Blavatsky, etc., etc. Reich, I think it was Reicher, I can't remember his last name. Anyway, there's the Theosophists, and it was at a time of great uncertainty that people tried to find certainty, even in let's call it fringe.
Yeah, the fringe. I was going there. Yeah.
Yeah, in fringe beliefs or what it might be. And so you got the double whammy. You got the need for a strong leader. need that, bang, need that. And you're looking for certainty in fringe beliefs because your regular mainstream beliefs are no longer helping you out. They're no longer letting you live your life, and none of it makes any sense anymore, right? That's where we are today. Because, I mean, you just...
it's like being spun around on the merry-go-round in the children's park, right?
Yeah.
But so fast you can't make sense of anything.
Well, that's correct. I mean, think of Greenspan. Think of Mr. Greenspan there and saying, "Oh, I've been wrong for 40 years about everything I've said about the economy."
Yeah.
So if you have an economist,
but they followed every word. Every word he uttered drove the economy.
Yeah.
100%. No, I was wrong.
Oh no, wrong. Sorry. The markets don't regulate themselves. Sorry. Free market is bad.
In fact, it's been everything I've been saying, but it doesn't matter.
And ever since then, we've seen government bailing out big business, big banks. Not the little people, not even the middle class people.
That's right.
Big banks, big businesses have been bailed out, and this is called fascism. Everybody, I know I said it before, but it's called fascism. When the government bails out industry, and when industry and the government work together in the way they do, right? Who do you think financed Hitler? Really, IG Farben. Okay, it was Krupp, Stahl. It was all those German, manufacturing conglomerates.
There was large banks and manufacturing firms.
Yeah, that's who did it. Just to be very clear, that's how the Bushes made their money as well. That's going to give me a lot of hate, right? Because George Bush's senior's father, right? He worked for the Harriman brothers, and the Harriman brothers out of New York colluded with the Nazis, and that's how the Bush family made their the Walkers and the Bushes. That's how they made their money back in the in that time in the 30s, 20s, 30s, etc., 40s even, colluding with the Nazis. That's crazy talk. None of this is. Yeah, I've told everybody before, I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I've got no interest in conspiracy theory whatsoever.
No.
I'm a conspiracy factist. What I'm telling you is fact. Look it up for yourself, right? If it's fine, I don't care, right? You can draw your own conclusions. Oh, no, he did it to infiltrate the Nazis. He wanted to bring them down from the inside. That's what he did.
Sure. Yeah, that's what he did. Yeah.
But by the same token, I had to say this, but Schindler's List, that movie?
Yeah.
So Oscar Schindler, real enough guy, right? And Itzhak, the accountant, also, these are all real numbers. So it all happened. Didn't quite happen the way it was in the movie, right? Just to be clear. It may be even unbeknownst to Oscar Schindler, but the accountant that was working with him, the Jewish accountant, the one that's keeping his books, he was getting paid for putting people's names on the list. Okay, just to be clear, right? Nobody's an angel here. Nobody is free of any guilt, and what's happening right now in Palestine is horrendous, in my opinion. Well, not Palestine, I guess anymore, but to the Palestinian refugees. That I think is a horrendous thing, especially if you consider that we have gone through this before. But we are at a crossroads.
This is one of those. The whole world ignores the atrocities, like Yemen. Saudi Arabia bombing hospitals and stuff in Yemen, right? Bombing people.
Go to Yemen now? What?
Right?
What?
You won't hear it on the news. If you look it up, you'll find it. And this stuff is happening. So it's right now. I think the focus, because the world has gone mad, just like the King from Hamilton, and you can do that. So the world has gone mad, right? And we're now focusing on the true core values that we all have, and that is we're now thinking that the human atrocities are a bad thing. But when times were fantastic, we just turned a blind eye to it because we were all happy. Now that we're not happy, we're not sort of I don't want to use the wrong words here. I think turning a blind eye, recognize that it happened, but from a majority perspective, we were good because of it. We don't mind trading with you, even though you whip your slaves. You know what I'm saying?
As long as I only pay $50 for my sneakers, okay? $50.
Yeah, that's right. No more, right? And you can sell them to me out the side door of the factory too, for cheaper if you want. Because that was, remember Nike's big sale that they said that they'd worked the Chinese companies so hard on price, that they got the shoes for free, but the company could sell X amount of them out the side door to pay for their manufacturing costs. But you know that they were making them for almost nothing anyway, and the slave labor to make them, and people could just die in their chair, and they just push the body out of the way and get someone else to make them, like the apple. Like Apple.
4-cent lollipops.
Yeah, we 4-cent lollipops. We need more nets. Why? Because people are committing suicide. The work conditions are so bad. Well, we'll get some more nets.
Yeah, that.
Get bigger nets. Because we want to get them back into their... We want them, not hurt as much when they try to commit suicide, and get them back working again.
It's this old adage which harks back to the...
We get the employees to pay for it.
It kept lying. Beatings will continue until morale improves.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So, look, that's what I think. I think the world's gone mad, and there isn't our renewed focus on things. It's made everything hypersensitive, apparently, and we shouldn't really be concerned about all of these atrocities unless the government tells us we should, and therefore, that this is where we sit. Then I was telling someone last night, Mickey, once again about astroturfing. So you try to research anything. It doesn't matter. I don't care what it is that you try to research. If there was a paid study on it that was implemented by two conflicting companies, you'll find that the study outcome bias is found everywhere on the internet, despite it being false. And that's because they paid to place it everywhere. They astroturfed over all the real information. And, 300 pages later on Google, you'll finally get to the original story, which was the results of the actual report, which had, remember fat and sugar, Mickey, I bring this up all the time, but fat and sugar was paid for by the sugar company to make fat look bad. But fat isn't bad. Sugar's bad.
Yeah, but see, like I said before, for a successful dinner party, you need 3 bowls. You just need 3 bowls of stuff.
Yeah.
Bowl number 1, sugar. Bowl number 2, fat. Bowl number 3, salt. And it's a party for everyone.
Oh, yeah. Because, each one of those makes flavor last longer.
Flavor.
It's all about flavor.
And you're right, though. Fat. This is a funny thing here as well. Everybody worries about cholesterol, right? Oh, you shouldn't eat this and you shouldn't eat that. It's a bad fatty acid. It's bad cholesterol. The truth is that 90% of the bad cholesterol is produced by your body. There's only 10% or so that you actually take from food.
Yeah.
Okay. And like Dave said, fat is not bad. But then again, unrefined sugar is not bad either. Okay, so your body needs certain substances to live. Mm-hmm. It's like saying oxygen is bad. Oxygen is actually the worst thing you can possibly do. Oxygen is the worst free radical.
It is.
It will kill you.
It destroys you. But we need it, right?
You will die without it. No more oxygen for anyone. It's bad. You should stop breathing.
2 hours of WOO. What's that? Without oxygen.
Oxygen. I'm just waiting for that fad diet. We are going to try the keto no oxygen diet.
Keto.
Hey.
That's all I need. I'm doing keto right now, and I'll tell you, it's a challenge to start, but once you get used to it.
Oxygen is bad for you. You know that, Dave. Stop breathing already. Seriously, man. What's wrong with you?
Why couldn't I think of that in the beginning? Hey, I don't want to stop your trail, man, but I think I've already done that. The COVID-19 figures 37 million global cases. At least it's been recorded and confirmed. We've hit the 1 million deaths, which is something, and 25 million, or at least 0.8 million, have recovered. However, the daily cases continue to increase. So every day now, sort of last week we were at about, about the 300k. Now we're 300 and maybe 60,000 per day. Mm-hmm. And it's going up. Like, this is, if I draw a line all the way through it, from the beginning when we had no cases, pretty much, it's almost linear. And it's still going up. It's not abating. We haven't got it under control. The UK, Mickey, it's completely exponential now. Every day doubling the cases.
France, Spain, and the UK, they surprise me. They really do. I mean, India doesn't surprise me at all. I always knew this was going to go. You know, okay. It's that's sure. Brazil is bad, right? But no, I thought the Europeans had it under control. I can only surmise that because it's summertime, or it's going into autumn now. But the summer holidays in Europe would have led to massive spreads because the borders are still open pretty much.
Russia's now experiencing the most daily cases it's had since the virus began.
Yeah, Russia's number 4 in the world now. They're pretty bad. Yep.
Yeah, but they're now at 12,000 a day and rising. Yeah. So a week ago they were like 8,000.
Yeah, this is okay. Look, again, I'm not going to argue whether or not there's a pandemic or not. This is just now. There is something out there.
We're monitoring the spread of a virus for sure.
The
fatality rate 3.9% right now.
Yeah, people are dying. Okay, so people are getting sick, but it's not really just the dying we should worry about. I mean, I had a few discussions with my dentist and also with a few doctors.
Your dentist likes to talk, man.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. He's a smart fellow. I like him.
That's good.
But it's the long COVID that we have to worry about. The knock-on effects here, which. And even from an economic point of view, we will find people that become debilitated, maybe even permanently so, certainly quite badly, where people can't, operate anymore. The memory loss, fatigue, extreme fatigue, like we've seen in models.
Like Ross River virus, Mickey, that can come back at any time in your life.
A friend of mine had that, and
I've got a friend too. Bad, same, right?
Bad. So this is COVID-19 thing. So I still wear my mask. My family wears their masks. And I find a lot less people, especially in Sydney, are wearing their masks because our numbers are down. I don't think that's a good idea. Will they protect you? Well, yes, they will. There's a level of protection. But again, it's entirely up to you if you're going to do it or not. It's the same with vaccinations and what worries me though.
If you were to wear a spray painter's mask, you get more protection.
Oh, absolutely.
It's a full respirator mask.
Yeah, completely. If you're a panel beater or some that sprays cars or whatever, whatever gear you have, that's the stuff, right? That's the stuff that you really should have. We're not quite there yet. But by the same token. It is now, the reason we don't see so many dead people anymore is because they're all dead now. The old people are all dead. Oh, well, not all of them, but quite a few have been killed now. And it is more younger and younger people that are being affected. So you have higher infection rates and lower death rates simply because it is now spreading to the younger population, which unfortunately also means that a lot more people will have much longer lasting effects going forward.
They've got a whole life to live.
Yeah, they will not die.
Having had it,
which is good.
Yeah.
But some of the things that I've seen, this is a person who used to run a marathon. I saw this report, and now can barely make it up the stairs.
Yeah.
Quite frightening.
Scar tissue, like it clots all of your alveoli, right? So Mickey, the England, right? So UK, United Kingdom, 593,565 cases. They've only declared 2,495 having recovered, leaving a gap of those who they declare have not recovered because they can't prove this any longer, that you can actually recover, of something near to 591,000 people who they're saying, you know what, you haven't recovered from it.
That's about 8% of the...
500,000.
No, sorry. It's not quite. 67 million... No, it's not quite. But it's a significant chunk of the population that is affected, and this is people that have been tested. Make no mistake, we don't know how many people are actually sick, or have it, or might have it dormantly, or are carriers, or whatever. You know what I mean? And this is just one thing. So COVID-19, we've seen now what one virus, if a virus it is, can do to us in our current configuration. Imagine, Dave, and I know we spoke about this. Imagine we didn't have technology, that we have today, right? Or like 5G, etc., right?
That's a segue.
That's what I wanted to achieve here. But let's imagine we didn't have any of that. We couldn't work from home, etc., etc.
That's right.
The world would be in such bad worse.
It would be more than a recession. It would be a complete collapse of society. If we couldn't, because the businesses would be making $0 right now, or we'd just be forced to work like we were closing the not Hiroshima, the other one.
Fukushima?
Not Fukushima. No.
Nagasaki.
No.
What are you looking for?
The nuclear power station in Russia. Chernobyl. Thank you. So, like they were throwing bodies on to fix it, where thousands died. That's what it'd be like at a business that was attempting not to die, if we didn't have the technology to work from home, and their only way of doing it was just employing new people.
Yeah.
That's what I see.
People are cheap. Yeah,
well, they're cheaper to keep the business alive. Yeah, right. And you have to pay them an hour's wage before they can leave.
But this is where we are, though. I mean, we are now at the crossroads for the very fabric of our society. We have now reached a point, and it was hastened by COVID-19.
Yeah,
certainly. But there are other things, that have led to this particular point in history where we actually have to ask ourselves: is this the way we can sustainably continue to exist? The answer, unfortunately, I'm not going to give you any prizes for guessing, is no.
Yeah.
We can no longer live like this. Why can we no longer live like this? Forget COVID-19 for a second. Okay? Go on. We are concentrating the wealth in very few people, in a handful of people in the world. They own most of the world's wealth. Whenever that happens, there's a huge inequality in spending power. All the economies will suffer from it, because one billionaire will not spend as much as 1,000 or even 1 million.
Looking at you, Bill and Jeff.
There you go. And I said it before, and I'll say it again, we are now at a point in our history where it is morally impossible, ethically impossible, economically impossible to continue to have billionaires. Millionaires, sure. And, work hard, get $1 million and 10 million or 100 million, right?
You get the letter from the Queen, Mackie.
That's the one. You've won capitalism.
That's right.
But if we can no longer sustain, we can no longer allow for billionaires to exist. I'm not a socialist. I'm not a communist. I'm not as much a capitalist as anyone else. But at some point, survival of the species has to kick in, and this is where we are. We can no longer leave that kind of wealth concentrated in the hand of the few. Why? Because people are dying. Dave, people are dying every day. Children are starving. People are dying of preventable diseases. People are living well below what we would consider the poverty limit, if you will, right? And why? Because we have got a completely unequal distribution of resources, of wealth. Okay, and it is the system itself that is at fault here. It encourages monopoly. It encourages the hoarding of wealth to no end. How many houses can you live in? How many cars can you drive? I know I asked the question a lot. And the answer is, well, sensibly, everybody should, have a good income. And if you work hard and you're ingenious, then you should have a better income than anyone else. Sure, absolutely. But your wealth and your enjoyment should not come at the cost of everyone else. If everybody consumed like America, like the US, okay, we would need another 10 planets to sustain it. If everybody on the planet, but by the same token, if everybody consumed like an average African person or African nation, I'm not talking about the top elite here, I'm talking about the people that are stealing all the money, I'm talking about average Joes, right? Then half the planet would be enough to sustain everybody, maybe even less. We can find a middle ground, Dave. Australia is making is making enough food, as an example, for 75 million people. Just an example, right? We've got 25 million people, so we can feed another 50 million people every year. We can feed another 50 million people. We also have got space for more people, right? And yet we insist on concentrating wealth in the hands of the few. It is insane. And the thing is this system only has one purpose. And we've spoken about this when we talked about fiat currency and fractional reserve lending, and the longest con, as far as I'm concerned. It's here to perpetuate itself. That's the only reason it's there. There's no higher moral agenda. There's no, let's bring humanity up to the next level. Let's all, become enlightened. Let's educate everyone and have the best possible, like a Star Trek kind of world. No, this is not this. This is the few making sure they're going to stay exactly where they need to stay. So what we've seen over the last few hundred years, and over the last few decades more specifically, is a dumbing down of the educational system. It's a dumbing down of the media. It's a dumbing down of anything that could create anything critical in the larger population's mind. The middle classes must be kept dumb. We feed them crap, pardon my French, okay? So we give them bad food, bad nutrition. We give them a substandard education, just enough so they can be cogs in the machine, just enough to function.
In fact, that's a quote from our own government.
It sure is, right? And just enough, right? And let's give them some soaps and daytime TV and whatever it is called, right? To you can have this too. You can live the Hollywood lifestyle, right? You have to buy in. No. There's no war.
It's the George Orwell television in the house.
Yeah. Yes.
Being entertained, living in fear, and as long as there's food, we're going to just take it. We're going to. You tell us, Quimby, right? Yeah. We're going to behave. We'll behave if we're given just enough stimulus to keep us going. Yeah. And it's almost Stockholm syndrome, where we're leading down the path where whatever they do to us, we'll appreciate because they had to do it. We'll sympathise with our captor. Our captor will be either our government, Mickey, or one world, new world order, right? Where we're all being treated the same. Remember the olden days? Oh, I remember the olden days, Mickey, when you could make something of your life if you strived. This was the promise. 2.3 children, 2 cars, a white picket fence, that whole thing. And that's already gone. That dream is... That doesn't exist.
In Sydney, arguably Sydney is one of the most expensive cities in the world now, right? But 30 years ago, my parents came to Australia. A house cost $100,000, right? People made whatever they made, right? I think the average salary was $30,000 a year, something like that. 30 years later, average house in Sydney costs you $1 million. Average house in Sydney, a million. Yeah. Wages haven't gone. So the average wage is not $300,000 now. I can tell you that. Okay. So it is a rigged. An old guy here in the chat room says it's a rigged game. It's absolutely. It's a long con, and we've all bought in. And the thing is this: we don't even know it. We can't see it. If you ask anybody, even people working in the banking system, right? Do you know what fractional reserve? They don't know. No. They just don't know. What is fractional reserve lending? That's my favorite question to ask anyone. If anybody asks me, they want to talk to me seriously about something, and like, oh, you conspiracy, this and that. Yeah, sure, okay. I'll ask them this. Okay, do you know what the fractional reserve lending system is, or even fiat currency? They go, well, no. What do you mean? Okay, let's say I put $100.
You're inside the box.
Yeah, inside the box. Exactly. Let's say I give the bank $100, right? It's the actual money, my physical money I put in the bank. Here it is, right? So I asked them, so how much money do you think they can give out based on your $100? Oh, they give $100. It's not even close. No. Oh, maybe $200. Well, the answer is, in some countries, America, I think it's 90-10, the 90-10 rule, and Australia, it's slightly less. But based on the $100 that you put into the bank can give out between $5 and $8. Yeah, well, up to $1,000, between $500 and $1,000.
That's right.
And so you're asking me then, Mackie, where does the $900 come from? The $900 that the bank is now lending out doesn't come from anywhere. It doesn't exist.
The numbers are made up. There's nothing to back it.
Nothing.
That's why bank runs are a thing.
Bingo. Because in a bank run, if everybody went, and this is why they're illegal, and they will bring the military into the streets to stop bank runs. I can tell you that right now, right? They will shoot you before you get your money.
To save the system from
There's
failing.
There's not enough money physically in existence. Physically. Like, people talk about printing money and all that. There's not enough money physically in existence on this planet to pay everybody out. It doesn't exist. The money doesn't exist. And this is not even the worst. The worst is that fiat currency means, it actually isn't worth anything. It's only worth something because we say it's worth something. There's no gold standard. There's no standard tied to economic production or anything like that.
It's not like even the coin is worth more than the value of the coin. No, it's worthless.
And that's why Bitcoin was such a threat, and still is to some extent, to the banking system, because Bitcoin is all made up too.
Maybe that was silver in the olden days.
Exactly. But now think about Bitcoin, Dave.
Yeah.
It's up and down. It's still there, though. It's still there, right? It's insane. And Omega Logos, yes, infinite fiat money is worthless. In fact, fiat money is worthless. There's nothing backing it up. You can print as much money as you want because you can. You know what I mean? It's like the new monetary policy. There's no money shortage. We should not even be in debt. Australia shouldn't have. Why? Because we can print as much money as we want. No one can stop us. There's no debt. And who are we indebted to? See, people always certain things are just taken for granted as read, right? Oh, we're in debt, right? Oh, to whom? Australia will have $1 trillion debt.
That's right.
Who to? Who to? The World Bank. Who's that? Who are these world bankers? And where's $1 trillion? How come they can give me $1 trillion? And how does that work? It's make believe. None of it is real. It's a fantasy. Completely.
So, Mecca, the thing about Australia now getting to $1 trillion in debt, $1 trillion. We were at, I think, before the current government, I think we were about 180 billion in total debt. But now we're up at the trillion. The thing, our government decided what they could do is they got in the back room and they're all like, it's blue skying. How can we create all this money to be able to afford to do the things we need to do to get out of the coronavirus problem? And they went, well, we probably need about 800 billion, I reckon, because, we're subsidizing wages and JobKeeper and job... I forget all the names now, but all these things that start with job and have EPA at the end, right? So they went, oh, we can't just, print money for that. So they generated a way of being able to sell some bonds to our Reserve Bank, say, I think it was 100 billion or something worth, and then, or that turned into nearly $1 trillion or 800 billion, and that they could borrow back from the Reserve Bank. They made the money up from nothing. There wasn't any money. They still didn't give the Reserve Bank anything yet, right? Mm-hmm. So they sold the Reserve Bank some of it and then borrowed the rest of it back. Isn't it crazy?
It is insane.
So if I went to the local money shark and said, look, and I discussed the same thing, I'm going to loan you, right? I'm going to sell a piece of paper to you worth, I don't know, $20. But what I want from you is $100. So you're going to give me $100 cash, but I'm going to give you a piece of paper worth 20. It's a great deal. He'd hit me in the head with a baseball bat. Go, what the hell? Yeah, but I can pay you on that 20. I can pay you some interest. It's going to be great. You're going to love it.
The funny thing is this, though, Dave. This is not a new problem.
No.
You know what? I hate to talk about the Bible, but the Bible called it usury. Usury is a sin. Okay? You are not allowed to charge interest. That's why, in fact, the Muslims are still working on that principle largely. If you go to I guess a Muslim bank, they've got a slightly different system to the Western banks. But the point is, usury is not something you should do. You should not get interest of money that you give to someone. Interest is because it doesn't exist. So let's say you're the loan shark. You give me $100, right? Mm. So thank you, Mr. Loan Shark, right? And tomorrow I owe you 200, and the day after 300, and so on and so forth, right? That money that I owe you on top of it doesn't exist. So I have to somehow come up with it. And the only way out of this, and this is the kicker, and we've spoken about this before, right? The way we are going now, this is the same way we went just before World War I, and then World War II was really just an extension of that. Mm-hmm. The only way out of a schlamazel, out of a quagmire like this is war.
That's
and
right.
Not just any war. We must have a war that is very, very destructive. We must have a war that resets, like World War II in a way, right? Like World War I in a way, which resets the scene, pushes up new superpowers, kills millions of people, destroys quadrillions of property.
It's got to also destroy the people that were owed the debt and the people who had to pay it.
Bingo. And this is the only way out of the system. So this system is a self-destructive system because there's no other way out of it. You will never, ever get out of the system unless, and this is everybody, everybody, unless we stand up and say, hey, this is bullshit.
That's right.
And I know, I said this before, it's one of my favorite examples. You know what the Amish do when they want to build a house? So the Amish are a sect. They're a sect of a German, I guess, Lutherans or Orthodox Christians.
And that's, of course, if you don't know who they are, yeah.
Yeah, and they're similar to the Mennonites, and they've settled in the States. and they like to live what we probably call a primitive life,
a tech-free environment.
A tech-free environment. It's a life that is probably healthier than what most of us live in. But so when they build a house, everybody gets together and they build a house, or they raise a barn. So they all get together, all the buddies and all the villagers, or whatever. They have the food together, they eat together, lunch together, breakfast. But then they go out and they build a barn or they build a house, and off they go.
They collectively share their resources to achieve targets. Isn't that crazy?
Clearly it is. They're not building.
No, I mean it's crazy compared to where we are, right?
No inflated prices. Do you have to put some of your elbow grease into it? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Right.
But you know what? They'll do that same thing for you.
Yeah, it's a community, and that's something that the elite has been working very hard to destroy.
But Mekki, they've split us. They split us into individual boxes. Each one of us is in our own separate box.
Completely. And this is not a new thing either. The caste system of India was designed to do exactly that. The feudal systems, which are, believe it or not, the European feudal systems are exactly like the caste system in India. We've always had a system that separates us and splits us up and pits us against each other, right? Rather than working together. I'll come back to Star Trek. I want to live in a Star Trek world.
Me
That's
too.
what I want to live.
I saw that meme this week, by the way.
Oh, okay. We only got a few minutes. Look, this is Listener Fun at Radio. And what this means is, it's not communism. It means that as a community we come together and we support the station because we like the content. It's another example of what community can do. This radio station brings together a whole bunch of different hosts, bringing a whole bunch of different topics, making you hopefully think, bringing some information you might not have had before, and that's what this is. And this radio station, Freedom Slips, right, Revolution Radio, is a blueprint of how we could operate. It's a blueprint of how we can work together, right? And the internet technology and all of that has enabled us to go to Patreon, right, a Kickstarter, etc., etc. We are actually on the verge of having a system like that. All we have to do, we have to kick over the apple cart, get rid of the elite, the billionaires, and then live like people, treat each other like people. But if you can donate, please do. This is Listener Fun already, like I said. If you can donate, is good, but even better if you subscribe to the archives or maybe buy some of the products that the sponsors for the site have brought up. So I think it's a worthwhile thing to do, especially if you're listening right now. Hopefully you're enjoying it.
Yeah, well, Mekki, they wouldn't be with us and they wouldn't be tuning in each week if they didn't. And look, some of the things we say may challenge your perspective. They may challenge your thoughts, but this is what this is about. So I have my opinion. Mekki has his. We, like a Venn diagram, we have a crossover. We don't always agree with everything together, and that's fine. We're allowed to. And likewise, if you only listen to us for confirmation bias, then maybe you're not looking outside of your box. Remember that they've put us in these boxes so we don't communicate with each other. The most complicated discussions that we could possibly have are religion and politics. And we don't. No one wants to air their opinions on this unless it's in a room full of confirmation bias. Well, I like robust discussion.
Conflict is bad. We got a conflict. Let's all be winners. Participation trophy. Participation trophy.
I won a trophy just for participating. But just remember, right? Yeah, you're right. Lusitania. It is. I don't want you to go down like the other one. I'm just saying. I think it's really important that we do hear other people's opinions. That's why I watch almost every news outlet that I can possibly watch in a week to better bring you stories, even though we only covered 1, 2. So the thing is, like my my high school certificate, well, I ran out of time, but I would have spoken about a number of other topics, and one of those being 5G and China's aggression over Taiwan. But it doesn't matter, it's all good.
I did try to get you there.
I know, man, it's all good. Look, it's only a short break. Use the time to donate to the station or subscribe to the archives. And, have fun. We'll see you on the other side of a very short break.